Hello and welcome to the DFS_PhD show for January 28th, the NFL final classic slate of the year show. It's always parting is such sweet sorrow. But remember, you're good enough, you're strong enough, and gosh darn it, someone's got to win that money. Might as well be us. Again, congratulations to Chill Man, our resident millionaire from last year, coming in with a nice King of the Desert qualification. So good luck this weekend, next weekend. I think they probably alternate it so people can go to the King of the whatever world tournament of champions. The thing I didn't qualify for that I talked about for months. So anyway, we'll get back there next year. I was realizing that's how I actually feel about that. It's just like, fine, I'll just win a legit million and get back there again. So we know what it takes. It takes luck. So hopefully I get some luck maybe this weekend. So let's talk about it. You can win $1 million this weekend. Theoretically, I got 4 shots already. We'll see how many more I wind up piling up. But I don't know. Yeah, it's the end of the season here. Moving on to basketball in our minds. We do better at basketball anyway. So, but there is still rain and winds and whatever, and who cares? That's not the real reason why I'm fading that game. Now, granted, the Vegas line on that game is generally lower than the other one, but I think in the other game, like if you revert Detroit to whatever the line is, like the NFL game line, just to see what it is, because it's big, and I don't think it should be that big. Yeah, we've got a 7-point line here. So I don't know. I mean, seems a bit wide to me. So I've tightened it up to be 3.5, about half that line. Just I think that's about more where I see this game. I also had a situation where it just wouldn't give me the distribution of guys I wanted, so I had to tweak and tweak and tweak with the I am finally using the Min Uniques 5 now. Now it's not really because I want to, it's more because I'm forced into by it just tells me, oh, I can't do it, I can't do it, but you can do it. You just need to think about it a little bit more. You need some more constraints. It's probably because I messed around with a bunch of these values. So let me tell you how I've messed around with the values. It's mainly wide receivers. So let's go team by team through the wide receivers. Kansas City. I have added a rule here. I should tell you when I add a rule. First of all, I'm allowing up to 1,500 and more than 200 salary just because I don't want a zillion dupes. And I'm saying max one of these wide receiver 2 or 3 for Kansas City. They rotate a little bit, but they didn't rotate that much last week. Last week it was 64% Rashee Rice, 50% MVS, 40% Justin Watson, 40% Mecole. So if we assume Tony is back, which we are for the sake of this particular one, show, then we assume okay, it's going to be a rotation between these 3 guys. Who knows? They should all be slightly higher than they're projected because they're kind of splitting the baby. They don't know who's going to get these snaps either. But I think we should just go with whatever the order of operations has been in the past for this team. And in the past, when these guys have played together, these are the guys who have seen more of the field. So you can add the other guys too if you want. I mean, Mecole is probably going to see some snaps, but at 10%, Mecole, no thanks. I mean, it's just like he fumbled last week. Like there are fans calling for him to be fired. So I mean, I don't think after the fumble through the end zone, we're going to see very much Mecole this week. But who knows? Maybe. I just think we're going to see a ton of Tony if he's out there, if he's available. You're going to see more MVS than anybody ever projects. So those are the guys I'd rather go to on this team. But none of them are obviously Rashee Rice level, so we're half projecting them. Like, what if they catch maybe 1 touchdown or a couple of other passes? Because I think that's about where their upside is. Now, Baltimore side, Rashad Bateman should be projected higher than the other guys. He had more snaps, he has more opportunity. The field is there, so it's not like I'm telling you guys anything. Presumably, you are with the field on this. And we're just going to jam a little bit of Bateman to cover. Yeah, we're covering that case. Max exposure 15% here. I see. Well, I guess that's just because I don't want too many of these wide receivers, but that does explain why I was getting all this. Oh, it won't meet my exposure. Some of my exposures might have been a bit draconian, but I really don't want that much of the Baltimore passing attack. They just don't pass it that much. They'd rather do weird little runs and stuff. I still haven't figured out exactly how to capture that running part of it. I might change or add a rule. Check out the Discord to see if you agree with the rule I add. I did think the distribution was correct here for Detroit, so I didn't tweak it for wide receivers. Same thing. I gave Jawan Jennings. He's out there more than his current projection was for, so I'll probably get to a fair amount of leverage Jawan Jennings as a result. Yep, 3x the field on Jawan. Totally makes sense. Now, like I was saying, in the backfield, you're gonna have to go with your gut here. For me, obviously, you play McCaffrey. You're jamming McCaffrey as much McCaffrey as you're comfortable with. You can do 100% McCaffrey, no problem. Like he probably going to score points. The only way he doesn't get there is injury. So 10% chance of injury during he doesn't make it there time. So you go with 90% McCaffrey. That's probably what I'm going to do. Like there's just no other game script. What's the game script? They don't give McCaffrey a bunch of points. He's going to score. I mean, I remember anyway. So beyond that, Justice Hill outsnapped Gus Edwards significantly last week. And I mean, like, so here's the deal: 35% for Justice Hill. I'm gonna cover like I'll cover that. I'll cover that, but I don't really love that. That's a ton of ownership for this dude who is like in a split backfield, best case scenario. He performed better, I agree, but I mean like 35%. Let's get out of here. We got 27% David Montgomery. Okay, I'll take that way more often. Presumably am taking that way more often, yeah. So that's the deal. You know my rule. At this point, max one Detroit running back. It's done great for us every week. One of them smashes. Every week it's the game script for one of them. This is the kind of week where like maybe you turn off the rule and allow both of them to smash, but I just don't like that game. I don't want to see the game where we get Goff checking it down 45 times out of the backfield and absolutely no passes to wide receivers. I just don't want to see that. I don't want to win money on that. So that's why I've left it this way. I think the rule works in most cases. I think that part of phase space is the richest with probability or whatever. So that's the real reason, not that other BS, whatever I'm saying. We are assuming Mark Andrews is in full go for this video. He's apparently not even questionable anymore. So we're unclicking likely. We are also like, what are we doing with Noah Gray? If we're really 25% Noah Gray, that's the most concerning like ownership on this slate. I don't understand one quarter of you at all. I mean, I guess pretty much every survey, like a quarter of you are answering wild answers anyway. So it's you guys doing the Noah Gray. Don't click on Noah Gray. I don't, obviously he's going to score a touchdown now. He is going to still, my thing. Like, honestly, for the showdown slate, he's definitely in play. But for this slate, I mean, even presuming he's at the Stone Mid, which he isn't. No, he is at the Stone Mid. Okay. I thought with the value being 1.2, he wasn't. But he's just for the Stone Mid, right? It's just to see what else you could possibly pack in there. But I just don't see it. You're giving up a whole touchdown to guys who are playing Mark Andrews. You're giving up more than that to guys who are playing Laporta, Kittle, like Kelsey. In the median universe, you're just throwing away a touchdown or two. I can't throw away a touchdown or two. I don't understand you people. In the flex, I'm allowing down to Josh Reynolds-ish. You could get a little bit more crazy if you want to allow some of these value guys that are like single digits median, because that's probably where you get to, winning the millionaire or whatever. But I don't know. I've had pretty good luck in hockey this week, by the way, just so you know. For build settings, just gearing all my lineups towards winning these three maxes that are kind of medium size. So I'm not going to do that for NFL yet because I've had success doing it the other way for NFL. But and generally speaking, the ROI correlated the best with the appropriate Saber score. Like I checked doing it like that. I checked this exact thing before in August whenever I did the ultimate test. So I know you don't need to. The thing you should always actually use the correct Saber score for your contest. They have done whatever background Lagrangian optimization is done correctly for that. So don't overthink it. Don't do the thing I do in the NHL. I mean, honestly, the reason I'm doing it in NHL is because I don't care about the GPP at all. I really do want to just win the Saddies, and that's been working. So make sure you're gearing your. Some people always ask me, and I do this a little bit wrong. And Jordan from SaberSim knows how to use his software, and he's right. Like technically, all of your lineups should be unique, and you should gear when you're entering Saddies, you should build different lineups for those than you build for the big GPPs. That's not how I do it. I just build the same lineups and I build them for the big GPPs, and then they handily win any satellites they win, right? I mean, because I'm already optimizing for top 1% in GPPs, so I feel like I should just win satellites as well. It's been working, so I don't really care to change it, but I do understand the math. I do understand why you would do it. And I mean, I have looked up the correlation of now. So the correlation is with pre-lock ROI, not post-facto ROI. So it's just saying what people who run contest sims think, right? So that's, garbage in, garbage out to an extent. Look how many of these different projections I disagree with today, right? Like it's like almost half of the projections. And half of the other ones over here for ownership are just going to be wrong, right? Like you've seen enough. I mean, if I go to like TrueDFS Twitter, probably I can find it immediately. Yeah, so I was looking at duplicates over exposure. We'll do that for tomorrow. But TrueDFS, what's his name is doing a lot of this. TrueDFS. There we go. Yeah, Sheets is doing a lot. Did he take down? Oh, August 5th, yeah. Oh, come on, just show me the cool stuff. You've been doing so much good stuff. Okay, so he was doing it for golf recently. Let me pull up the last time it was for yeah, so for the last NFL slate, here we go. Look at this ownership differential. So the ownerships are off by like 10, 15% for the top plays because people are using sim software that tells them they're the top plays and they understand they want to win, so they play the top plays more. So there's like a you could almost find some sort of a square of the ownership or some sort of a something like that, some sort of a function. You can, I'm sure that's what he is doing, but that's like what you should be doing here is the big guys, the ones who are highest projected for ownership, you should be manually adjusting them. Like when we go to Christian McCaffery for every slot at 61%, we should recognize he's probably going to be more like 75, 70. He's going to be higher owned. I don't think I want to have the max I have on him, so I'm going to change that if I have a max. Yeah. Anyway, so same thing like Jameson. Let's go by ownership here. Who do I think is the worst chalk? I've already told you I think it's Noah Gray. Beyond that, we have Gus Edwards. It's not really chalky. Jameson Williams at 45% is a bit much. Um, yeah. 3,700. Yep. That'll do it. He is extremely, extremely cheap for his role in that current offense. So I get it. That's not bad chalk. Isaiah Pacheco, Rashi Rice, these are all the guys you would expect. Honestly, the ownership's not quite where I would expect. I think a little bit higher for ASB here, right? Don't we think he'd be more than 40%, be higher than like Pacheco and Jameson? I don't know. I guess he's priced up, so who knows? But my general point is if you're doing the sim pre-lock ROI, you need to recognize the set of assumptions that goes into that, which is not only that all the projections and distributions of medians are correct as is natively, which you see I disagree with half of that, but that the ownerships are all correct because part of figuring out how often you beat how many people is figuring out your leverage, right? Figuring out how many cases you eliminate what percent of the field with which choice. And you can see if you're off by 10% for the top 10 owned guys, your contest sims are not right. Like they're just not possible. The contest sims cannot be to an order of magnitude correct when you are off by 10%, like when there's a consistent 10% differential between reality and your contest sims. Your pre-lock ROI is not important. That's between you and whatever. I mean, do I know how to respond to this exactly? Not really, besides baking in that they're going to be higher owned. But there's definitely a background effect of contest sims and people condensing even more around the best plays in these kinds of tournaments, which means making that one little pivot. So let's talk about those one little pivots down here at the bottom. For instance, right now, for me, my one little pivots that are doing it that would win me big tournaments can win you big tournaments. I don't understand 8% Mark Andrews. Play Mark Andrews. What is going on? I got 30% Mark Andrews. Oh yeah, let's rank it by leverage. That's easy. David Montgomery. People are underrating the Lions ahead possibility. There's a possibility of the Lions ahead, whatever percentage you think that is, or he gets some check down work, or he scores too many touchdowns, whatever it is. That's up to about 50% of the cases this year, right? So you got to have some of it. Beyond that, Kadarius Toney and MVS. I've already given you my case for playing the weird rotating Kansas City people. They have a low median and a high mean. So you need to go to the cases like that where these guys are going to score a lot of points whenever they score points. Because you don't care about the cases where they don't score points. Those lineups didn't win anyway. Okay, so same thing, Justin Watson. You get a little bit of him, but he's already higher owned. People are into him. Juwan Jennings, similar case. I'm not even changing his projection, right? Oh, 8. Yeah, okay. So I am jamming a little bit of Jawan Jennings just on snap count basis. He's out there, he's running routes. They're throwing him the ball. I mean, anyway. Um, so yeah, these are my dudes this week. Everybody else is just like a reasonable 5-10% owned, and I'm covering them. Or biggest fades right now: Noah Gray, Patrick Mahomes, Gus Edwards, Mecole Hardman, Jamison Williams, Zay Flowers. Yeah, Baltimore passing attack, Kansas City auxiliary pieces. I mean, any person on Kansas City you're going to be confident about? No thanks. I don't want them this week. I want the ones you're not confident about. Those would be ideal. All right, so that's how I'm playing the slate. That's why I will be punished more than likely, but it's also why if whichever of these guys, MVS or Kadarius Toney, does catch a touchdown. Now, granted, probably he's ruled out before lock. If he's ruled out before lock, what do we do with this wide receiver? Just so this remains a valuable video. Then you just mix in, I mean, probably Mecole Hardman, right? Like he probably doesn't completely lose his place just for reaching out for a touchdown in a way that probably winds up changing the rule eventually. I mean, it's a bit onerous of a rule, really. Really the problem is every change we've made in sports for years now, for like 2 decades, has been to favor more offense, right? Like all the penalties we're calling and stuff. So this rule just doesn't make sense as part of the game because we want to incentivize people to reach out and score touchdowns, right? I mean, like whatever era this rule came from, it was an era that was penalizing offense. It's just not part of our modern era of football. So that's why it's gone. Is really it's anachronistic. It's not what we're doing with football anymore. Now we want to score points. Now we want the game to be like 63-42 or something. So anyway, that's why you need to. That's why I think that's obviously going to happen in the offseason. Sound off in the comments if you have other feelings. Yeah, no other tight end thoughts. What am I even doing here? All right, guys. Remember, you're good enough, you're strong enough, and gosh darn it, someone's got to win that money. Might as well be us.